Alright, hello everybody, Game Cooker US Rocks VR here. How's everybody? Welcome to the stream. Um, Feel free to join the server if you're able. It's open. There's like 7 more slots. Um, be sure to like, share, subscribe. Check the links below in my details section, which might be changing soon. Um, Check out those sites for game deals. Um, just a disclaimer, whenever you buy keys from sites, it's kind of at your own risk. The 2 sites that I have down there, for the most part, I didn't have any problems. There was occasional situations where I bought a key and it didn't work. So make sure that when you buy keys from those sites, you're logged in. That way, it's much easier to request a refund. So I found out when you're logged in rather than doing it as a guest, because everything's kind of in your dashboard, in your history of buying, so that way you can just go right there. When you do it as a guest, sometimes you got to do it through your email, click on a link, and then it's just, I don't know, big mess. So, yeah. So, this probably isn't a great location for me. I'm also like those sites in the details section, like Green Man Gaming, for instance. I think they sell like computer and console accessories and stuff, peripherals. So it's not just game keys. So anyway, whatever you can do to support the channel, I'd appreciate it. Ooh, there's 2. 2 wrecks. Let's see if we can get them both here. Guess in this case I gotta use my gun because... Come on, stop. Ah, crap. The wobble. That's 3 shots there. 3 pretty good shots, not perfect. That was a hit on the chin. I gave away my position now. I don't think it knows exactly where I am yet, maybe. Let's see what it does if I don't move. Hello. Now I gave away my position. Time to go. This one arrow should take it out. And I was right. Alright, so I left a video on my channel the other day saying that I was getting my COVID-19 shot. And I'm not going to tell you the reasons, again, why I made that decision. Because that's kind of irrelevant at this point. Excuse me. So, just to give you a rundown of my experience, I got the J&J vaccine, or what they call the Janssen, or whatever it's called. That's just a one time because I wasn't going to go back for a second, you know? So, I mean, I'm not against vaccines, and I have gotten my flu shot, here and there. I'm not always consistent, but um, I'm the one thing I will say is I am not for vaccines that are forced. Now, you might say, well, what about like when you're a kid? You can't go to school unless you get your vaccination shots. Well, that's true, and we've kind of been um, forced into thinking that that is a necessary thing because that's what we grew up with, right? So, in essence, we should not be forced to even get those. But, smallpox, polio, whooping cough, those kinds of sicknesses are, you know, well, I don't know about whooping cough, but, smallpox, polio, they're pretty bad diseases, they can really mess you up. So, rheumatic fever and those types of things, but that's kind of something else. Um, you know, polio polio killed a good percentage of people, and then it also left a good chunk of survivors crippled. And I'm sorry if I'm using an incorrect, politically incorrect term there. I'm not trying to, but whatever, physically impaired, however you want to put it. Okay. um, so I'm sure that ooh, most people were, you know, basically praying for a vaccine for that. You know what I mean? So, all diseases are not created equal. So that's basically what I'm trying to say. COVID is not polio, and it's not smallpox. Okay, it doesn't really affect children that much, which polio did and smallpox did. Okay, when you start killing off a high percentage of children with a disease, then that's quite different than, say, you know, an extremely older population. Not that they're worth less or any less human or whatever, but, you know, the children are the future, right? So I'm not saying we should just not help our old people. Obviously, we help everybody, but the COVID really attacked mainly the older population. Okay, the population that had a high percentage of even dying from the flu, the regular flu that we get every season. So that's the category that COVID is in. Okay, COVID is not in the category of polio or smallpox or chickenpox or measles or whatever. The ones that can really mess up kids. Okay? So forcing a vaccine for this virus is unwarranted, unnecessary, and it's not really something that the medical community should be backing up. Okay? So I'm really disappointed in the medical community. I've been already like had lost tons of respect for the scientific community because all they do nowadays is push theories and this kind of like sensational activism that's supposed to be backed up by science that's based on mainly conjecture, okay? And, you know, the climate change, right? So that the doomsday that they're calling for there is not scientific. Okay, that's a prediction. Yes, you could say it's a prediction, I guess, based on something. But it's based on very weak. It's based on a very, very weak argument. Okay. They're trying to compare CC here. Okay, CC equals climate change. So I'll just say CC with like what happens on what is happening on Venus, right? I mean, it's like the Earth is a totally different kind of a planet than any other planet. Okay, the Earth has a recycling system. Okay, it's got several. Now I've already said this in other videos, so I'm not going to go into detail. We have an open environment. It's not closed. CO2 is not going to get trapped here and not be able to leave. You know what I mean? Or get recycled or get reused or whatever the case is. Okay, we have an abundance of plants, bacteria, um, a huge ocean. Okay, and on and on. Okay, that can recycle the CO2 that goes in the atmosphere. Okay, and just because there's an increase in CO2 doesn't mean that it's going to like continue indefinitely until we turn into an oven. That's just like the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard. That's why it's just not scientific. You know what I'm saying? And if there's an increase in CO2, then you're going to have more plant life. Okay? Which is good for everybody. Okay, you're going to have better crops, you're going to have all good things. And let's just say that it was enough to really alter the climates, which again is just, I don't think that's the case. There's plenty of climatologists that kind of don't agree with the whole climate doomsday thing. But they never get a voice because you're not allowed to talk. You're only allowed to push climate change doomsday. You know, that's it. You know. So all this talk about I'm just sick. It's just kind of weird. Like everybody kind of bought into it, you know. They talk about energy, save energy, save energy. I mean, we got a freaking sun that we can fit 1,000,000 Earths in. You know, 93 million miles away or whatever it is, you know. 98 million miles, 93 million miles. There's no way that we're going to run out of energy. I mean, so that whole thing, well, every time I hear somebody, and I know what they're talking about, but it's like if you turn the whole planet into solar panels and wind, then and then the population keeps increasing. Okay, that's still not going to solve the problem of energy use. I mean, in fact, you're going to have more brownouts than California already has now. Okay, if you just all of a sudden stop using, you know, fossil fuels, petroleum products. And the other thing is the hypocrisy behind all this argument is that how many of these so-called, I love the climate people actually have cars that are economical, you know? Or how many of these people actually stopped using their computers? Okay? Or how many of these people stopped using plastic bottles and they only buy non-plastic items? I'll bet you I can go into their house and find plastic all over the place. So it's just like this whole thing is just like super political. That's it. There's nothing scientific about it. In essence, I'm not saying there's no science involved, okay? I'm not saying that science is bad. But the problem is science isn't the problem, it's the people that claim to be the experts who are really activists. Okay? And they're feeding people a lot of misinformation. Wow, that guy was fast, man. A lot of misinformation. They're sensationalizing things that really are not really a big deal. Like the increase in CO2, or that CO2 now is some kind of evil, demonic gas that we must all fear, you know? I know what CO2 is. I mean, I grew up on a farm. I know they use it in hotbeds. I worked at, without saying too much, I worked at a nuclear reactor, and they have CO2 suppression units, suppression systems, sorry. And, we learned all about CO2 and how it works and how you have to protect yourself. And, if you get caught in a room and the suppression system goes off, you have to go get on your Don helmet or whatever it was called and put that on. So that you don't suffocate, you don't asphyxiate. But CO2 is a part of the system of life here. It's part of it. So when you start tampering with it, when you start talking about having CO2 catchers to reduce it, I mean, that's just like the most insane thing I've ever heard in the world. Like, it's totally insane. I mean, you want to take the stuff that you need to live outside of the environment in which needs to live to produce the products that you need to live. It's just insanity. I mean, CO2 has not increased much at all. Okay, since they've been kind of like, whatever, studying it. And, the other thing too is that, the scientists will not accept the fact that the global flood happened, which totally, like, broke the planet. Like, literally broke the planet. You can see it all over the place. I mean, if you took away the ocean and you looked at the terrain, I mean, it looks like, and you looked at it from space, I mean, you literally would see something that looked like it was just like totally destroyed at one point. That's literally what you would see. And scientists just won't talk about that. They won't show people that. They won't explain that to people. So if the planet was, say, equalized pretty well at one point. Ooh, that was a nice one. And then totally got broken up and destroyed at one other point. And the climate shifted like massively, which there's proof that it did. Oh boy. The climate would go from a warmer situation, to a cooler one. And then, obviously, as the planet wants to equalize itself, because that's what it wants to do, okay, that's scientific. Everything wants to equalize itself in a system that, you know, is a self-sustaining system. So naturally you would have the planet gradually, well, in the beginning it warmed up a little faster. You know, we had the ice age from the you know, the tail end of the flood, because you had the warm oceans and then the cool air on the land, so you had a lot of that evaporation, and then it would dump a lot of snow on the continents, so that's why you had the rapid buildup of snow and stuff. That creates the ice age, but as the ice melted, you know, the planet will start warming up again. So you still have this kind of getting back to equilibrium, and then you're going to have these kind of ups and downs as it goes up. It's going to go up and then down, up and then down, up and then down. So, you know, I'm not even sure we're in an uptrend right now, because there's a lot of contesting data on this. But even if we were on an uptick in warming, and then the CO2 happens to be, you know, let me get out my bow, increasing. That doesn't really mean that the CO2 is causing a lot of the warming. You know, it just means we're in a warming trend, and then the CO2 happens to be increasing at the same time because, well, we've had a lot of volcanic activity. We have, you know, a lot of, we do have, obviously, in the past, factory and vehicles and all that, you know, which I guess help contribute to some of it. But again, the amount of CO2 that's increased is not much at all. It's very trivial. So anyway, I'm getting on a tangent here because it's just, I don't know, I just hate the way science works now. It's like, it's not science anymore half the time. It's just rhetoric to get a political agenda going, and activists to get their way. And the activists don't even know what they believe in, because they just listen to the bad science. Well, anyway, back to my COVID shot. So, I'll tell you my experience now. Sorry for getting off on that tangent there. I'm trying to keep my distance here, because when I talk, I tend not to focus as much. There he comes. He doesn't want to come up this hill, huh? Let's see if he can see me through this. Yep, he can see me. He can see me. He's coming up now because he's pissed. Just keep walking. Oh, no. One good hit. I know that first shot was a good one. I didn't hit him? Really? bad idea. Oh, they hit the rock. Come on, give me a break. Invisible wall there. Wow. What is going on here? These arrows are acting weird. Whoa. Okay. I wonder if he's like really hurt. Did I get him? Come on, die. I'll get to talk about my vaccine in a second. There we go, finally. Man. Jeez. Got that vertebrae though. So anyway, back to the vaccine. Alright, so I got the J&J shot. So I made an appointment at my pharmacy because I'm not going to go to some, you know, whatever you call them, testing site in the middle of the city. So I made an appointment with the pharmacy and went there. I wanted the J&J because it's just one shot because I knew I wasn't going to bother with going back for a second one. So I got the shot. You know, it was just a little prick like any other flu shot. But like, I got it in my left arm. So when I got it, it was like, when I first got it, it felt like there was like it wasn't intense, but I'm just giving you the feeling that I got. Okay? Like an electrical shock going down my arm. It was like really weird feeling. I never felt that before. At least that I can recall with any other shot. And then, you know, I had a strong ache all up and down my arm. Like my arm was just like, again, I can't really explain the feeling. It was just like a, like, you know, like my muscles were knotted up, you know? Like they just kind of crunched up. So, you know, the lady said, you know, just kind of like, if you want to move your arm, you can move your arm. So I was just kind of like exercising my arm there to get the blood moving or whatever. You know, so yeah, she said sit there for 15 minutes in case I had you know, in case you have some kind of reaction. So after the 15 minutes, you know, she said, "Are you, how you feeling? Are you all right?" I said, "Well, I'm okay. It's just my arm. I got, you know, it's kind of sore, like a pain down my arm." And she was like, "Okay, well, you can go. You're fine." So I had that kind of pain in my left arm where I got the shot. But then later on, it's kind of weird because like my left arm felt better, and then my right side, my right arm, like here in the shoulder, I was getting a lot of pain. Like it's been hurting for the past 2 days now, and it's constant. It won't go away. It's just like a constant, like a pain. Like again, I don't know how to describe the pain. It's not like a severe pain where it's gonna like drop me or anything like that, but it's just like it's sore. You know, like constantly sore. Like it's enough where it kept waking me up when I was trying to sleep. Okay, so it's painful enough where I would wake up and then I'd be like, oh man, massage, massage. So after like the first day of just kind of dealing with that, I mean, I could have done this before, obviously. I decided I was just going to take some Tylenol. So every time the pain came back, you know, I would just pop 3 more Tylenol uh, pills, you know, the low dose. And, you know, after like, say, an hour, the pain kind of toned down. So it was, you know, tolerable, comfortable enough so where I could sleep again and whatnot. So I still have it now. I didn't take the Tylenol this morning yet, but I still got, and like the pain would shoot down this arm. So it's kind of weird that like the same pain, it's basically the same pain except it went from this side to this side. So I don't know if that's just coincidence, you know, or whatever is in the vaccination shot, you know, just kind of causes, you know, swelling or joint pain or whatever the case is. Because you know, even when you get the flu shot, you know, the area can be sore, you know, for a day or two. So, good morning, Vietnam. Yeah, remember that movie? So, so along with all that, I felt like really like just low energy and groggy the past 2 days. Like the first day was just a pain in the arm, but then the second day I was just like, you know, I still did what I had to do during the day because I can't stop, but it was just like dragging my feet basically. So I feel a lot better today because it's like this is like the third day now, so I feel better today. Um, I still got the pain in my arm here, and I still got the sore. It's sore here still where I got the shot. So that's pretty much my experience with the J&J shot. So, ooh, wow, I am getting lucky today. Got another Rex. Sure, that got his attention. Not good. There he is, or she is. So, you know, so, you know, do I recommend getting the vaccine? Well, I mean, there's a lot of things you need to look at. Um, you know, technically the vaccine was not tried and tested, even though they keep saying it's safe, it's effective. Um, they really don't have any like truly medical scientific reason to say that, even though that's what they like to say. You know, now I'm not saying that, you know, it's not going to work, you know, or that you know, they shouldn't have made one, you know, but if you're young, if you're like below my age, below 50 and healthy and, you know, eat pretty well, then personally, this is my own opinion, I don't think you have much to worry about, you know. But again, that's your choice. I don't know how, it depends on how, you know, how paranoid you are, how you look at sickness. Crap. How you look at the COVID situation overall, like whether, was it, I mean, with the information, well, see, we kind of knew last year, but whatever. With the information that's coming out now, you know, and apparently, there were certain people who were, you know, pushing this whole virus narrative of getting people scared and saying how concerned they were, knew that it was a virus that looked like it was engineered. So, um, now we have people in our government who are essentially confirming this. To an extent, at least to the fact that they believe that's the case, or that it's a good possibility, let me put it that way. So, but today everybody's favorite term is, RACIST, or you're a xeno something, you know? If you say certain things, you know what I'm saying? So, um, we live in this new society where, and I was telling my wife or somebody that this is how the Catholic Church worked, way back, the papacy in Europe. They kept control of the people through guilt and superstition, and also keeping the Bible from, you know, getting into the hands of the masses. The priest was the one that mainly preached. So they didn't really, even though they might have read something out of the Bible, they preached mostly, um, you know, their traditions, rather than what God wants people to follow. So anyway, so that's what we live. So we live in the same society today, except now they say it's under the disguise of politics, right? And science. That's what it's under the disguise of. So now they're using politics and science to control people, or the term science. Again, I don't accept a lot of the science that's taught, because it's not being taught in a manner that is objective. Okay, it's taught in a manner that is subjective to the one, you know, revealing the data. Okay, it's based on a worldview rather than um, looking at the big picture, looking at all the facts. A lot of scientists who are activists cherry pick data to back up what they're claiming, and they ignore anything that contradicts it. Okay, and they'll either call it outliers, or they'll ignore it totally, or they'll just say we got to focus on this because this what matters. This is what matters. Otherwise, humanity is gonna something's gonna happen to humanity, or if you don't accept this, then you want people to die. It's like this kind of it's like they don't give you a choice, right? Because they're backing you into a corner. They throw this data at you, and then they say, you have to accept this, or else some doomsday thing is going to happen. Or you have to accept this, or you're racist like them, or you're xeno like them, or you want people to get hurt, or you want people to die, or you're going to kill your neighbor. So it's like when you present the data to the person or to the people or to the students, what's their natural reaction going to be? Their natural, especially students, they're young minds, right? Still young. I mean, 20-year-olds, they don't know nothing in life. Unless you've been through a lot at a young age, you don't know nothing. They're of course they're going to be like, "Oh, I don't want to be like that." No, I care about people. It's like so they use this kind of conditioning. It's brainwashing done through conditioning, right? It's through done through guilt and giving you lack of choice in approaching a situation or reacting to a situation. So, and that's exactly how the papacy worked when they were ruling for 1260 years in Europe. That's how they kept control. And, everybody wants to say, well, religion is bad and all this. Well, first of all, academia has always been the enemy ever since they kicked God out of the school, right? Because a lot of the good science that was done in the very beginning was done by people who believed in God, most of it, okay? So religion's got nothing to do with good science versus bad science, okay? That's just a lie that's told constantly, and it kind of gets on my nerves because that's another thing that scientists and academics are spreading that is just not true. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that you have to be religious or whatever the case is, but, facts are facts. So, my suggestion is I don't really think that people need to get the vaccination, but that's my opinion. Unless they're at risk or they're old, and even in those cases, when you're old, if you're healthy, you're probably going to be fine, but that all depends on how old you are. You know what I'm saying? So, because I know of a 90-year-old a person in their 90s and at least a couple people in their 80s who contracted COVID. They tested positive, and they were just fine. Okay, so and one was even like had it, was sick with it, and they recovered. So So with that information that I know, it's probably based on how healthy you are, you know. Now again, older people are a much higher risk. I mean, so I would definitely be cautious with them. You know, I wouldn't take for a grain of salt, you know, the risk involved there. You know, my dad, he's a conservative, you know, and he got the shot. So it's not about, you know, conservative versus liberal. You know what I mean? It's not about good science versus bad science. It's about personal choice. Okay? Never support anyone who doesn't give you personal choice. Never support a politician who is going to want to primarily control your life. You know? Don't let people manipulate your mind into thinking that this is good and that's not good. You know, I mean, when it comes to religion and the Bible, that's a different story. I always put that in a different bubble, right? Because if you believe in God and you believe the Bible, then the Bible will be truth, okay? And I don't have a problem with that because everything in the Bible is true. Like, there's nothing in the Bible that's stated that is bad for anyone, okay? I've seen I've known many people whose lives have been changed in a very positive way because they gave their hearts to Christ, okay? And they found truth in the Bible. So I mean, it's there's nothing ever negative, you know. And again, don't listen to what other people say about it. You got to read it for yourself. You can't listen to all the rhetoric that's against it. I mean, I fight with I have I don't do it very often, but I've had little spouts with people on Twitter that say that, you know, Christianity is racist. And I'm like thinking to myself, well, that's the stupidest thing, really. That's the most foolish thing to say because if they ever read the Bible, they would know that it's not. Because it's like God is number one, God is no respecter of persons. So he looks at everybody the same. Okay? It doesn't matter where you come from on the earth. Okay? Everybody in the end is going to have to answer to God. So that in itself would say that the Bible's not racist. Okay? Secondly, when it talks about slaves in the Bible, it does acknowledge that there was slavery. Okay? But it also acknowledged that these slaves were captives, right? Because they lost the war. It also acknowledges that these slaves, which were otherwise called servants, were that way because they broke the law. Okay? Or they owed an extremely high debt that they couldn't pay back. You know, so in order to pay back the debt, they would either go to jail, or they could be a servant, or the person who they owed the debt to had the choice of either saying they can go to prison or they can be a servant. So I mean, I don't know if in my personal opinion, I think I would rather be a servant than go to jail for a long time, because at least you're still in a partial sense, you're out in the world, right? You're at least out in the world. You can interact with people and you're in the regular environment. Okay, but I'm going to take it a step further now. The Bible even talks about how people should treat their servants, okay, and their slaves. Okay, God was not for the masters beating and abusing their slaves and their servants. Okay? So, and I can go on and on. There's more, right? It talks about how to treat women. Everybody says, oh, the Bible was like, you know, always belittled women. No, it didn't. In fact, it was the opposite. Yes, there was a hierarchy, but that doesn't make a woman any less than a man just because you have a hierarchy. Okay, it's just a system. If you have a system in place, it doesn't necessarily mean that the other person's lesser. Okay, it just means that this person has a role here and this person has a role here. You know? Because, you know, there was women prophets, there was women judges, you know? Just because women weren't priests, or God didn't prefer them to be priests, or he didn't mandate them to be priests, doesn't mean that they're some lesser person. I mean, that's so silly. So there's just a lot that's taught out there that's just wrong. It's not right. They're just not teaching you the right stuff. They're lying to you. Okay? It's just, that's what it is, a lie. When you don't teach somebody the truth, you're teaching them something else, which would be a lie. Okay? It would be inaccurate. It would be untruthful. It would not be the whole story. It's deceptive. Okay? So again, the vaccine, it's up to you. If you get it, I don't think you should feel guilty. If you don't get it, I don't think you should feel guilty. You know? After going through what I just went through, I probably would not get it again. You know? But again, that's up to you. You got to look at the, you know, you got to look at all the facts that you have and then make a decision. Now, do I believe in forced vaccinations of the C-19 vaccine? No, I do not. I don't think that it should be forced. I don't think that you should lose privileges because you don't get it. I don't think that you should be not allowed to go on a plane because you didn't get vaccinated. I don't think that an employer should turn down a job application because the applicant didn't get it. I think that all that is anti-freedom. I think it's tyrannical. Okay, tyranny, that's what it is. I think that that's evil. You know? Whenever you step on somebody's freedom, that's evil. Okay? Now, obviously, we have basic rules like don't kill, don't steal. Fine, that's good. You got to have a peaceful society. So you got to start somewhere, right? So you got to have the basic, laws that respect human life and people's property, right? So I don't have a problem with that. You got to have laws, okay? Otherwise, it's just going to be chaos. Boy, I'm in a pickle now because I don't have anywhere to go. Let's see if I can get away here. He's coming though. He's going to see me soon. He's coming quick. Yep, here he comes. Don't panic, don't panic. Don't panic. Whoa, he didn't wait very long, did he? Wow, that was a quickie. You know, it's been what, like a year and a couple months now that we learned about or since the lockdowns, I guess you could say, right? Oh, he's going nice. So, you know, since some people got the vaccination, and since now you have some states open like Texas and Florida and some other one, South Dakota, New Jersey finally just kind of lifted the mask mandate for most areas, but that's only because summer's coming. That's the only reason New Jersey, the governor, lifted the restrictions, just like he did last year. Now there was the mask mandate last year, but he opened up the beaches last year because he knows right well. Whoa, jeez. He knows right well. Okay. Because Murphy knows right well that he's not going to be able to close the beaches up. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we have millions of beachgoers every year. Okay? New Jersey has some of the busiest beaches in the country. We have some of the nicest beaches in the country. A lot of people don't know that. In this little small state. So that's the only reason he dropped the mask mandate. And, there's an election coming up. If there was no election coming up, then he would have kept everything, strict, and then he would have locked down again next fall. So that's the only reason. I mean, they had a hard time closing the beaches in California, and that was pretty heavy lockdown. But I mean, after a year now, just open up the whole country. There's no reason to keep it closed. I mean, you already have some people vaccinated, a good number, and everyone else is going to get it and they're going to recover. And then every baby that's born is going to be exposed to it, and it's just going to become like another flu. I mean, that's it. You know, whatever you want to call it, herd immunity, whatever. I just call it immunity because that's just how the body works, you know. We have a built-in immune system that is made to fight infection. And that's the other thing that I just irked me about this whole thing is how they minimize science minimizes everything now. You know? And they magnify things that are, usually insignificant. Like, all of a sudden our immune system's like, oh, why do we have it? It doesn't work. It's not going to help fight against COVID, you know? Like, hello, we fight against infection all the time. I mean, we get colds, we get flus, we get whatever, strep throat, we get all these things all the time. And our body fights against it, you know? COVID's just another sickness that we can fight against, And it's better to let your body fight it off because then it's a stronger immune response. A vaccine is like it does work, but it doesn't prevent you from getting the sickness in a severe way necessarily. Whereas if your body fights it off, then it's probably going to have a stronger response next time. Because the vaccine is an artificial thing that's representing COVID-19. Now it is, part of it. Yes. I'm not saying it's not part of it. Like obviously if they use the RNA from the COVID, then that's part of it. But that's what it's responding to. It's not responding to the COVID cell itself. So scientists can only do what they guess will be the best method when it comes to vaccines. It's better to use the actual sickness itself to fight the sickness, not just a part of it. So, and there have been medical experts that came forward and said this, because there's a lot of old people that get the flu shot, right? And they still get the flu, or they still get the flu and die from the flu, right? Complications from it. So, a vaccine is not any kind of a guarantee. Okay? It just gives you a greater chance of, fighting off or surviving, so to speak. Boy, here's another Rex. Wow. I'm just walking the right road today, aren't I? Do I have a, I don't have a 50 caliber. I hear a Utah over there. Yep, here's another one. Oop, why is he running away? Oh, he must already be hurt. Ooh. coming back. He heard me. She heard me. Is it a she? Yeah. So I don't regret getting the vaccine. It wasn't very pleasant though. Now I am 50 now, so, you know. I eat fairly healthy. I mean, I don't eat as healthy as I would want to. Ooh, that was a nice hit. I think that was a good hit there. Hit the breastplate there. Is she gonna come straight down here? Yeah. Oh, shoot. Whoop. I gave myself away. Crap. He's gonna see me now. Yep. Yeah, she's coming. Oh, maybe not. Dag, Herky, you're getting killed over and over. That definitely punctured the lung. There we go. So, you know, tell me what you guys think. You know? Like I said, I don't think C-19 was as bad as they made it out to be. I think it was overly politicized, you know, and especially here in the United States, the states abused their power big time by ruining people's lives, because that's what they did. They ruined millions of people's lives. Not thousands, but millions. Okay? Suicide rates in kids. Mental health on the rise. Undue stress from financial, you know, stresses, and businesses ruined. You know, small business. You know, they're the little guys, the small business. You know? Corporations got bigger, you know, during COVID. And the little guys got stomped on. For no good reason at all. You know, the whole COVID thing should have been dealt with on a local level and a local level only. Period. And it should have been based on, you know, people voting locally, you know, how they want to deal with it. You know? And the progressives talk about how much they care about people. And how much they're, like, supposedly against the rich, you know, which is kind of a stupid argument anyway. But number one, their policies always hurt people, and they always help their rich people get richer. Go figure. I mean, it's like such the height of hypocrisy. And yet people are still blinded. Like today, I was doing a Google search, right? And where's Herky? I gotta go help Herky. Is he far away? Oh, he's way over there. No, he's over here. Wow, it's far. I'm way over here. Wow. I wonder if that's the hurt one. Sorry, I lost my thought there. Oh, yeah, I was doing a Google search. And, you know, Google is like one of the worst ones sometimes. You know, underneath the search bar it says, oh, watch Joe Biden and, Dr. Fauci, discuss COVID-19. Like, are you kidding me? Like, after all the things that were just revealed about Mr. Fauci and how he knew about a lot of different things pertaining to COVID, especially that based on his request, the China labs were funded to help manipulate viruses. Okay? He signed off on that. Or at least promoted it, condoned it, whatever you want to say. And, you know, he also knew about masks and how they weren't really that effective and all that stuff. But yet, he was all over the national news spouting how, you know, we got to wear masks, we got to be careful, we got to be scared, you got to be worried, you know, you got to take precautions. But yet, Google is still supporting the frickin' guy. You know what I'm saying? By putting that garbage up there for people to click on. And you know, and the foolish people, the ignorant ones, are gonna click on that and be like, oh yeah, COVID, we saved the day. I didn't click on it, so I don't know what it's talking about. But it's like, you know, but they're still giving the guy credibility when he essentially has none. You know, I don't care like if he's a PhD in anything. That doesn't give you credibility with me. Just because you have a degree. You know, there's a lot of people out there with degrees. You know, a lot of the politicians have degrees. But yet, they're destroying the country. So, degree doesn't mean anything. Making good choices is what's going to get my respect. Making good choices is what's going to give you credibility in my book. You know, actually showing you care about people. Not by spouting climate change doomsday or promising people free this and free that, which in the end they're going to end up paying for anyway with extremely high taxes, you know, and they're going to not be able to have enough money to travel like they could have. They're not going to be able to buy that nice car they could have. You know, they're not going to be able to enjoy life like they could have if they had all that money in their pocket. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, and from what I'm hearing from other people in other countries like Canada and Scandinavia, is that this whole free stuff is not all it's cracked up to be anyway. The media is lying about that. Because the media says one thing and then and these politicians say one thing, but yet I'm hearing from actual individuals who live in these countries saying that no, if you need to get if you need to get an advanced procedure or a serious procedure or a risky procedure or a intense procedure medically, you have to wait in line. There's a long waiting list. Now you can get the procedure done quickly if you pay money out of your pocket. But isn't that defeating the whole purpose of the whole free this, free that? Yeah, you can go to the hospital and treat a broken leg. Oh, big freaking deal. You know, we do that here in America. You don't need insurance to go to a hospital. I mean, yes, you'll get billed, but you'll never get refused. You know, you might get refused a scan possibly, but I don't know how that works. But if you break your leg or get in a car accident, they have to treat you. And we have things to help you pay for it. They got charity care and some other things, you know, other um, charity stuff that can help you get your bills paid. So, you know, it wasn't like people were left in the dark here, left alone if they had a medical problem. Now, sure, if you have cancer or you know some kind of advanced liver disease or a serious lung problem like emphysema, sure, you're gonna if you don't have insurance, you're gonna be racking up some bills, you know. But even if you had the free health care, that's only going to be supporting you up to a certain point. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like they cut the rope. So you know, so it's like so if you need to get an operation, you're going to be in a waiting line. You know, that's just the way it is. And the more people that you have in a country, the longer the the longer the line, right? Because there's more people. So guess what? Some people are going to die while they're waiting for the operation. So did did you create the perfect system? I mean, my argument would be just try to reduce the cost of healthcare. I think, you know, medication is a bigger problem than trying to keep people alive through, you know, operations per se. I'm not saying operations aren't necessary. They don't take me out of context there. But, you know, let's be honest, most people today, if they have problems, they're kept alive by medication. Right? I mean, let's be honest, heart medication, diabetes, insulin. Um, you know, if you have Parkinson's, you're taking medication for that to help control that. I mean, you know, the majority of people are really just kept alive through medication. So what we should actually be shooting for is prevention, right? And, you know, bringing down the price of medication. Now, prevention is a tough one because people like to eat what they like to eat, right? But if you teach people real scientific evidence of, you know, what kind of a diet is the best diet for keeping you as healthy as possible, we have that information. Okay, it's a predominantly vegetarian diet. Okay, and people don't have to be scared of that. You know, if you still want to eat meat, fine, but just eat less meat, eat lots more vegetables. You know, it's not a hard concept. You know, and you're not a tougher person because you eat meat. I mean, that's just such a silly way of thinking. I mean, it's so goofy. Okay, and that will minimize your chances of getting a severe illness, you know, but exponentially. So cutting it out altogether is better, but you know, If you still have to eat your meat, then eat the meat that's going to be the most healthy. You know, cut down on your fat intake, your animal fat intake. Um, you know, vegetable fat, there isn't really much against that. You know, obviously, if you eat like a whole thing of peanut butter, wouldn't recommend that. But um, you know, animal fats are dealt with differently in the body than animal fats, and they're broken down differently than animal fats. So there is a big difference between the two. Also, a big lie that we're told is that we have to eat a lot of protein. You know, and yes, children, the protein intake needs to be higher because they're growing. But once you become an adult, you know your protein intake does not have to be much at all. You know, you need your carbs and you need you know, your good fats. Because your body lives off of carbs. You know, glucose, you know, is the sugar that your body wants. It doesn't want white sugar. It doesn't want powdered sugar. It doesn't want corn syrup, you know, which is heavily concentrated. You know, once fruits, vegetables. So eating healthy is not a liberal thing by any means. Okay, I'm a, you know, I would consider myself more conservative thinking. I was a Democrat, but I mean, I was pretty much a conservative thinker, you know, and I learned how to eat. I learned a better diet through, you know, my church. So that's where I kind of got that from. Backed up by science. So, you know, medications, fine. You know, Trump said he wanted to reduce the cost of medications. And what do people do? You know, if the election wasn't rigged, they vote him out of office. I mean, this is what I don't understand. The progressives are such hypocrites. You know, like the people have been so brainwashed that they have no idea even what they're fighting for. I mean, Trump wanted to dump money into low-income cities, low-income neighborhoods. He wanted to lower medical costs. He gave money to traditionally black historic colleges. You know, he lowered taxes. He was trying to boost the economy. He created lots of jobs. You know, he did pretty much, he lowered regulations. He took out any regulations that were worthless. Okay? So that's another thing that they lied about. You know, that he was getting rid of regulations that protect people. No, that's wrong. He was getting rid of regulations that were not necessary. That's what he got rid of. You know, regulations that basically just took money from you and me and small business and fed the bureaucracy, right? This is what the progressives love. They love to put their people in power and then they feed them money. You know, they get rich off of it. I mean, that's what they do. You know, but because the media never talks about it, nobody ever hears about it. Nobody ever sees it. Nobody ever, you know. has any idea what's really going on. And this is what Trump was basically fighting against. You know, this is what he was against. He wasn't against people. He wasn't against legal immigration. He wasn't against people of color or poor people or none of that. He was fighting, he wanted to fight against the bureaucracy, which basically just is a leech off of you and me. Big government, that's all they do is they leech off of us. And what happens to us? It sucks the life out of us. You know, it sucks the money out of us. It sucks the life out of us because we got to work harder now. It doesn't get better, you know, when their policies are implemented. It just basically squishes everybody down into one in the same plane. So how does that help people? So you're basically all equally oppressed, is basically what it is. They're not getting rid of oppression. They're just basically smushing more people into that. So it's more people equally oppressed by the government. Crazy, man. Anyway, I guess that's all I got to say about all that stuff. Let me know your thoughts. I just know what I've seen in the past 50 years. Young people, they don't see nothing. They're gullible. They get manipulated by guilt. You know? They get manipulated through conditioning. Because they don't have anything to reference. You know? They just look at something and go, "Oh, wow. Really? That's how it really is?" When it really isn't. Or that's really what's going to happen? When it won't. Or the chances of it happening won't. You know, ever happen. You know? And because they're conditioned to not listen to anybody else because they're the bad guys, they're locked in to a one-track mind. So in other words, they become a slave of their own thinking. And again, it comes back to the Catholic Church. And even today, the Catholic Church teaches that you should not listen to anybody else. You should not listen to any other church. You should not go visit any other church. You know, it's the same kind of thinking. All this is like Dark Ages, just now politicized and disguised under the mask of science. The modern Dark Ages. The modern control of mankind. And it's happening right under our noses. And we're all doing nothing about it. And eventually it's going to be too late. And there'll be no turning back. So now you're going to have a world where you have people that don't have choice, don't have freedom. And you're going to have, and anybody who speaks against it, well, the people over here have been conditioned to hate anybody who's against their ideology. You know? So anybody who wants to speak up for freedom, whether they're black, white, yellow, or purple, they're going to be ostracized. They're going to be dehumanized. They're going to be persecuted. They're going to be canceled. They're going to be fired. They're going to be, maybe even eventually, they're going to start imprisoning people who speak against anti-freedom. You know, speak against this control mechanism. And it's not unheard of. They've been trying to get a law passed over in Europe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I read this in several different places. Where that if you speak against climate change, that would be considered hate speech. And you will be committing a hate crime. I mean, that is the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard about. I mean, besides what happened in the Dark Ages. Okay? And the fact that people have been so conditioned to think this way is just, I don't know. Crazy. Crazy, very crazy to me. Because anybody with any kind of common sense can just look at that whole situation and be like, well, something's wrong with this. And they're doing that with many other things too, not just climate change. You know, if you speak against, like I said, even if you just speak about being patriotic, you know, that's become a hate crime. Or an act of terrorism, or whatever the case is. I mean, it's just so absurd. You know, everybody should be for freedom for all. I mean, if you're a true progressive, then that's what you're shooting for. You're not shooting for oppression through policies that are implemented because of quote unquote a potential for climate doomsday, which again, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I mean, you're not going to get CO2 levels to the point where it's going to like totally obliterate the planet or wipe human race off the face of the earth. I mean, that's just dumb. Whenever climate changes, people adapt. You know? I mean, we already knew that, like, out in the Middle East, that, like, if you believe in the Bible, you know for sure it was a wetter area. But, you know, if you wanna go to science, and I was taught this in school, so I'm not just making this up. This is from my science teachers. That in the Mediterranean, it was much wetter there, and even in Africa, you know, the Sahara was not as big as it was today. So, what did people do when things started getting more dry there? Hey, Don. What did they do? Did they freak out? And this had nothing to do with, like, CO2, right? Because, you know, they weren't using fossil fuels back then. I mean, they were burning wood and stuff like that, but... Man, he's dying. So it had nothing to do with, like, a climate change based on CO2. That's why just this whole CO2 thing is absurd. You know, what did people do when those areas dried up? Well, they adapted. They either learned to build their houses differently, work the land differently, or they dug in the ground to dig deeper wells, or they moved away. Right? They didn't, like, run around pulling their hair out, you know? Screaming and yelling, going, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I'm gonna die! I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just, it is insanity. That's what it is. And you know what's funny? I said, I think last year or the year before or whenever it was, that a lot of these liberals, these progressives, like these hardcore activists who are like climate change and all this junk, didn't I tell you they were recruiting people that had mental health problems? I said that. And I said a lot of people that embrace this kind of stuff have mental instability for some reason. I don't know about mental illness. I don't like using that term. You know, mental problems or mental issues is what I like to say, because if you were raised a certain way and let's say you were beat a lot or whatever the case is, you're going to have mental problems, but that doesn't mean you have a mental illness. You know what I'm saying? That you were born with some kind of mental imbalance. I mean, yeah, you'll need counseling, you know, to try not to repeat the violence, but that's curable, right? Because now you're going to see two perspectives, right? And that's how people get better, because you see the brighter side of things. You see the other side. You get a view of it and go, "Oh, you mean other kids don't get beat when they're kids all the time?" You know, like I'm talking about abuse, not spankings. I'm not against spankings, but I'm talking about abuse. You know, so they get a perspective, right? That's a nice sunset. Um, that's how you treat mental problems. You know, of course, scientists want to make everything a mental illness. Everything's a mental illness. Everything's an illness. You know, a kid cries all the time, mental illness. Kid was abused, you know, when they were a child, and now it's a mental illness. It can't be cured. Take medicine. You know, it's all big business, man. So I kind of got off track to what I was talking about. Hate when I do that. Anyway, you guys tell me what you think about that stuff, you know? But there's everything now is just being blown out of proportion, sensationalized, and it's all for political purposes, for control, to control you, to get certain people in the power who want to stay in power, you know? And then all they're going to do is help their people, their friends, their family, their cohorts that are in their little group of thinkers. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to help the regular people like you and me. I don't know if you can hear me, Don. But it was good seeing you pop on there. Alright, so how long have I been on? Oh, that's it? Only an hour and a half? Hmm, that's interesting. Is this guy like stuck in a tree or something? So has anybody killed a T-Rex over here or what? Let's see. It's getting dark. Yeah, I don't like dark. I'm gonna get out the big gun. Take out some trike if there's any. Seems quiet here. Player stats. 1880 T-Rex it says. What was it before? 1875? The hours are wrong, that's for sure. I don't know about the meters. 767. I think I heard something over here. Republic Broadcasting. Yeah, I have my conservative outlets that I listen to. I don't really like do periodicals too much. I try to support like I try to support people that wouldn't normally get the attention, or at least that the media acts like don't exist. You know, like black conservatives. People like ABL. Check out ABL. Um, conservative twins. Officer Tatum. Now, I'm not saying that I agree with with these guys 100%. But for the most part, they are in line with how I think, I guess. And they bring up, you know, a lot of the news that you wouldn't normally see. There's more. I mean, I could mention lots more, but you also have what's his name? Let me get him up here for. Let me get him. There's one more here that I wanted to add. It's a white guy. Um, who, you know, I guess he's more of a centrist, but he's kind of been leaning towards, you know, more on the freedom side of things because um, he sees what's going on. You know, you got Candace Owens. You know, some of these people are Christian people, but whatever. It doesn't really matter to me. I mean, yeah, I can't. I don't remember the name of the channel. Crap. Try to get it here. Boy, that's very loud in my ears. Come on. See, I hate YouTube because they're not giving me everybody. Like especially if somebody talks about, you know, one of those issues that they like censoring people for, they won't give me the they won't give me the video, you know, which is kind of horrible. Um, yeah, I can't find it. Hmm. Oops. Sorry, just give me a second. Where's the subscriptions here? Hmm. Oh yeah, Awaken with JP. That's what it's called. I think he's kind of like into spiritualism a little bit, like not like meditative kind of stuff. You know, like a hippie kind of outlook, but he's not a, you know, he's not like a hardcore. He's not like a he's not really a progressive type. He's like a, I think he's more of a classical liberal, but he could be conservative now because he was talking about some things. So you can kind of, if you, did they censor me? Well, Officer Tatum has his own website, and so does ABL. I'm not sure about Larry Elder probably has um, a periodical. He's also helps out with the Epoch Times, um, which is a you know, more conservative, I guess, freedom friendly paper. They talk about a lot of the issues with China and whatnot. You know, because according to the media, you know, there is no black conservatives. There is no, you know, Latino conservatives. There is no Asian conservatives. You know, according to the media, you know, it's only the racist white people that are conservative. You know what I'm saying? Why is he not harvesting? You know, most people, whether they believe it or not, or whether they want to acknowledge it or not, when I say most, I mean the majority. The majority of people usually lean conservative. And it seems like one of the hottest contested things that kind of leave people feeling like they're separated from conservatism is abortion and the other one now is climate change, right? So, first of all, conservatives have addressed the climate change thing, okay? By promoting clean coal, by promoting nuclear power, right? And we've also voted for, you know, lowering emissions in vehicles. Oh boy, it's fast again. You know, for years, decades, we've been, you know, for lowering the emissions from cars. So it's like, you know, no matter what you do, the progressives, it wasn't about any of that. See, this was all leading up to a power grab. And they were willing to take decades to do it. You have to understand that everybody thinks that when somebody has a plan, an evil plan, that they want it to happen like overnight, you know, or within a year, or whatever the case is. No. People that have evil plans are willing to sacrifice decades of picking at and chipping away at a system to reform it into their own. You know? And that's why they're so easily deceived, because people are so easily deceived because they don't see the little changes, you know, that lead up to a final end. You know, means to an end, means to an end. And there's a lot of diversion, right? A lot of redirecting, right? Because the progressives don't want you to look at their policies and how they've destroyed inner cities. They just want to say, oh, look, it's because of Republicans that you're suffering. It's because of they didn't agree with us that you're suffering. You know, it's because of things they did that caused you to happen. You know, to you to get in the situation that you're in. There's always a redirecting, a redirecting, a redirecting. You know, or they just ignore. Right? Like Biden again was elected. Whether he was elected justly or unjustly, that's besides the point. A lot of people were willing to ignore, even though they were talking about what? Black Lives Matter. Biden's policy on the crime bill in the 90s. Okay? That crime bill that he signed, that he promoted, that he was like going, woohoo, we got to do this, put thousands and thousands of black people in jail who really didn't need to go in jail. You know, for petty stuff. Okay? But yet, the progressives will blame it on the Republicans. Right? Now, I'm not saying Republicans didn't vote for it. I'm sure some did. Or maybe a lot did. I don't know. That's besides the point. Right? Because wow, got him. Whoop. Look at him, he's down. He's very hurt. Wow. Oh, come on, you gotta die. Yeah, he's gonna die. She's gonna die. Yep. The good old days, Don. Oh well. F court didn't make it. I tried. I was shooting, man. I was shooting. Up, it is working. 1881, it says. This didn't change the travel meters. See, what a lot of people don't do in this game, and what F Court did, they don't put enough distance between them and the T-Rex, you know. You have to have, I mean, I understand some people, they like to be brave and like to stand right in front of them and all that stuff. And that's fine, if that's how you want to play. But I don't need to feel like a tough guy, you know what I'm saying? I like my cock just the way it is, you know? So, Ah. You gotta keep it. You gotta keep a certain amount of distance, you know, so that you have time to run away. You have time to maneuver. You know, even have time to get a couple more shots off. You know. Now that Rex could have easily turned and ate me, you know, right there. But you know, I wasn't gonna run away because I knew that, you know, I knew he was fixated on F court. I knew that, so I wasn't gonna run away and leave F court, you know, at least in that situation alone, because I was just gonna try to shoot him and kill him, but you know, whatever. I guess it just wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. It was close to dead, but you know, because it had its head down, so we tried. I should have used my bow and arrow too when I got closer, but you know. Anyway, it is what it is. It is what it is, what it is, what it is. Wow, he's 1,000 meters away. Whoa. He really kicked him far away, didn't he? I just figured that he was going to come this way. I don't know why. That was just an assumption I made based on no facts whatsoever. Yeah, so. Alright, anyway. I don't know if I should end. It's been 2 hours. Had a pretty good run, I think, today. Wonder if he's got a Rex over there. Oh, F court. I guess that means, like, you know, F court, you know? I didn't really take it that way. I don't want to say the word, but you know what I mean. The F word, court. Oop. What was that? Okay. What does that mean? He didn't understand the question, I guess. See, I don't know what they've killed over here, because I wasn't really paying attention to the chat. I wish it would, like, tell you exactly what you killed, what everybody killed on this little thing here, but it doesn't really break that down, unfortunately. No, he hasn't seen any tracks. Okay. So then there's probably nobody over here. There might be somebody back there by the beach. Herky got killed a few times over by Trihorn. I don't know if he ever killed that T-Rex that kept killing him. Maybe I'll check over Trihorn, then if there's nothing there, then I'll get off. So looking at the clouds right now, I can see that they're not really dynamic, because you can see those three clouds are exactly the same. Yeah. Go ahead. Are they in here? So I think what they had was they just kind of have certain types of clouds, and then they kind of just get more, they overlap them and get more thick, I presume. I mean, they still look okay. You know. For the type of game it is, you know. Yeah, I'm gonna go get this trike here. Oh. Surprised my game didn't crash. Pharaoh knew. Sorry. Yeah, he's showing. How far is he away? So he's on the other side of Arthur's. Hmm. I don't... Ooh, I hear something. There it is. All right. End off on a good note here. Here it comes. It comes. I gotta eat breakfast. I didn't even eat yet. I think there might be two. I think there's two. Unless it's just the sound is like echoing. Thought I heard something farther away. There it is. Oops. How can I get up this rock? Oops. Oh, what? Okay. That must have already been hit by somebody else. Oh, Herky. Herky shot it before. Well, I guess that answers my question. I guess he didn't kill the one that killed him. Yeah, I think I have one of the truck simulators already. If I take a screenshot, it's gonna crash. So I think I was right, there's another Rex. Yep, there it is. He's probably got it now. I did hear a second one. Where is it gonna go? I don't know. I think he's gonna kill it. fleeing. That's... There we go. Why is it fleeing? Wonder if this is another hurt one. There it is. There it is. Wow, way out in the open here. Way out in the open here. Yep, she's bleeding. He's bleeding. Not good at all. Wow. Not good. Dead meat. Ah, he's gonna fall down. Ah! Ah well. Ah! I lost that kill. Phew. Can't believe I might be able to get it. I'll have to log out though. That's it. Alright, everybody. Gotta go. There's no way I can get out of here. I'm stuck in the ocean. Thanks for watching. Have a good weekend. Take care of yourselves. Keep yourself informed. Fight for freedom, not oppression, not tyranny. Alright? Peace, y'all. I wish I could stay on all day, but I got things to do. Alright, love y'all. So long, and like my Snoopy shirt? Alright.